Hello everybody, and a very warm welcome back to Norwich Talk for my first video in quite some time. I think it's been a good couple of months now. I thought the best way to dive back into making videos would be a transfer rumour video, of course. The first thing I'd like to really say is I'm very sorry about the absolute state of my hair right now. I look absolutely terrible. Not that it matters that much in terms of the content of this video, but Lockdown 3 is not an ally to my tendencies of getting my hair cut fairly regularly, so I would just like to apologise for my physical appearance, which I find myself doing often throughout my life. However, we're here today to talk about a transfer rumour. Yes, it is that time. A player potentially joining Norwich City. His name is Dimitris Giannoulis. That is probably offensive in terms of the way I've pronounced that, but again, I'm absolutely terrible when it comes to pronouncing non-English names, but I've done my best. In this video, we're going to go over what we know about him, which isn't actually all that much, and then how I think it will affect a player like Xavi Quintilla, who was actually signed at the beginning of this season, wasn't he, to be the first team left back. Because that circumstance and that situation is very interesting to me, and I think it could potentially result in seeing him leave at the end of the season maybe, or even go back to, where is he on, from Villarreal, during this current transfer window. Okay, so what do we know about him? We know that he's Greek and he's a left back, and he's currently playing in the first tier of Greek football, the Super League, for PAOK FC. Now, I thought that stood for something. It does. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it because I don't think I physically can, and I don't want to. I keep saying I don't want to offend anyone. I don't think I'm offending anyone, but I don't want to embarrass myself more than I already do on the internet. As I said, we know he's a left back, 25 years old. Cool. That's all we know about him in terms of where he's playing, how old he is, and his position. In terms of his actual playing career, there are some things that I do think are worth picking out and for me to inform you of, in terms of just getting to know this player a little bit more. He's played in the Europa League. He's played in the qualifying process of that. He's playing in the Europa League this season because they failed the qualifying process of the Champions League. Now, I do intend on clutching to that information because I think it's very interesting. We remember it for players like Puerta as well, don't we, in terms of this having European experience. Now, I can't speak for the quality of the opposition within them competitions, but in terms of the actual process of playing in them games, the stakes of them games, the fact he's had that experience, he knows that that's the type of game that you need to win to succeed. Again, it's an obvious thing to say, isn't it? But I do think that sort of experience can only have a positive impact. And again, it looks fairly impressive on his resume, doesn't it? And when you've got a player who has European, technically Champions League experience coming down to the Championship, it suggests that he could be one of the leading players within the league. Other interesting for me is that he joined his current team halfway through the 18-19 season, of which in that season he played 8 games, so not that many, but the team itself went on a rampage that season in the Greek Super League. They won the double, which is the title and the domestic trophy, with the record within the league as 26 wins, 4 draws and 0 losses, of course, which is absolutely remarkable. Now, when it comes to successful seasons in 18-19, Norwich City know a little bit about that, but this record here is absolutely remarkable, which is more of a credit to the team than the player specifically. But in terms of being that environment, I think you're going to want to replicate that continuously throughout your career. So I think with that mixed with the European experience, he's definitely going to be bringing a lot of hunger to Norwich City. Now, in terms of the quality of the Greek league, I don't know if it's better than the Championship. I wouldn't say it's more competitive, but I don't know if the quality is better or worse. But either way, that desire that he will definitely bring should only be a positive for Norwich City, of course. He played 8 games in that season, as I said. So yeah, I think in terms of that point, it's not too relevant to him specifically. But again, it's more the mentality side, and the mentality side of the game is just as important as your ability, as I'm sure everyone will tell you, players, staff, fans like myself. Last season, he played 25 games in the 19-20 season with 3 assists. Now, 3 assists isn't exactly head-turning, really, is it? But the fact that he's played that whole season, he's played 25 out of the 30 games, suggests to me, mixed with the fact, that Kieran Scott and Stuart Webber are paying attention to him, that the finer details and statistics of that season, should be impressive. Now, I couldn't actually pluck any from the internet that I thought were particularly relevant to you in the space of I think I spent half an hour looking up this player before making this video. But as I said, it suggests to me that he should be decent, and to be a player as important to a team who are challenging for the title, challenging for that Champions League space, he must have some sort of quality about him, in my personal opinion anyway, that is, of course. This season, he's played 11 games, 2 assists, so in less than half the appearances, he's almost matched his assists tally. suggests improvement, doesn't it? It can't suggest anything but that, can it? Of course. He's missed 5 games because the team have played 16 games this season, but he's missed 5 due to a hamstring injury. Now, I looked into that; it was just a hamstring pull. I looked a little bit further into his injury record, which didn't suggest that he's fighting many continuous injuries, which is really important because Norwich do love players getting injured, don't they? Especially when they haven't even got a previous record. But fingers crossed, he's not going to come here and be plagued with injuries. For example, like Xavi Quintilla, who is a quality player, there's no doubt about his quality, but he's been fighting that injury constantly, which has been a real frustration. I remember when it was labelled as a 3-week injury, and months later he's only just playing his return game to Norwich's team, which is a bizarre circumstance, which is all we know about him in terms of his playing this season. Now, if you look at the deal that's being touted with his name, it suggests that he would be joining Norwich on a 6-month loan with the potential for a 7.5 million transfer in this summer. It's a bit of a strange one. I saw a few tweets suggesting that it is a very weird type of transfer, but I saw Connor reply to that tweet, which I thought was a really good point in terms of it could be just the same as Ben Gibson, which is if we get promoted, we commit to the money, we sign him regardless of how important he is to the season. And I think that's sort of used as a bargaining chip to the other team in terms of actually getting paid for losing a player of undoubtable quality. But yeah, I think it's also similar to the Xavi Quintilla deal, I guess, as well, in terms of it relies upon promotion potentially. We don't know this yet, of course, but it's very interesting seeing that sort of number being mentioned. We don't often see Norwich spend above sort of the 3-4 million euro mark, do we? But the fact it's a reported, not I was going to say suggested, a reported 7.5 million euros suggests that Webber, Kieran Scott, the whole team, they think a little bit of him. From tweets that I've seen from like Michael Bailey, for example, it suggests that it's happening. But I think the main question that comes from this is what's happening to Xavi Quintilla, which I don't really know. In my opinion, / my prediction, whatever you want to call it, I think Quintilla will probably go back to Villarreal by maybe in this transfer window, but definitely by the end of the season. I think this suggests that he won't be joining Norwich permanently. That could be as a result of his injury, which I think is the more likely compared to his quality, because when he's played, he's looked good, and the left back position as well as the right back is so important to Norwich in the way they play, because they rely on such an open pitch, and the way you open a pitch up is by having high fullbacks, very wide fullbacks, and Quintilla does that when he's in games. He gets high up the pitch, and he's very good on the ball. He's really good at crossing. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? I think his speciality as well is obviously crossing. Quintilla, that is, of course. And I don't think that really suits Norwich, in my opinion, especially when Daniel Farke... I remember the Derby game, for example, we had Quintilla whipping in brilliant balls, but they were to Pukki. And in my opinion, this season, Jordan Hugill isn't going to be our main man. Absolutely no chance, unless Teemu Pukki goes and gets injured. But then you'd argue that Adam Eder would come into the fray because he suits Daniel Farke's style of football more. But yeah, it seems like it was a weird... No, it wasn't a weird signing, but the way he's been used is very interesting to me, which suggests that mixed with the injury as well as his speciality being crossing, it just hasn't really worked out for him at Norwich, has it at all? But they're my thoughts on everything. I'm very keen to know yours in the comments down below. For me, this is only a positive transfer because I do trust the methods of Stuart Webber and everyone. We've seen this season that Norwich can actually sign decent players. You look at like Ollie Skipp being the best player, for example. But yeah, they're my thoughts. Leave yours in the comments down below. Do you think it's a positive transfer? Are you believing the reported 7.5 million euros? What do you think about this when it comes down to Xavi Quintilla? Do you like him? Do you want him to stay? As I said, very keen to know your thoughts. Make sure you leave a like on the video. I'd appreciate that. If you could subscribe and keep your eyes out for the podcast we've got coming out tonight, where we won't be talking about this because we filmed it last night. That'd be pretty cool as well. So until next time, I'll see you again very, very soon.